Chapter 31 Important people arrive. In the place of the gods' meeting. Seeing the gods then realized that there were some new people coming to the meeting. So the family sent someone, said Odin, seeing a woman. A woman then went forward intending to introduce herself. Ares who saw the woman and was shocked by her beauty. The woman has white hair tied in one braid, has a fairly thick armor and looks at the gods with neutral eyes. Well, I will introduce myself. My name is Angeline Avellini, said the woman introducing herself. The gods then only nodded understanding. All the gods then knew who this woman's family was. This woman's family is not a playful family, a family that is very close to the creator. I'm here to tell something important, said Angeline. Do you remember that there was a bunch of devils in the world of elves? Asked Angeline. Yes, we remember how Satan entered the world of elves who are protected by strong protective magic, said Zeus. There seems to be a problem, said Izanagi. Of course there will be problems, shouted Odin irritably. All the gods then sweated to see the two gods quarrel. Izanagi looks chuckling seeing Odin upset. The situation then returns to its original state. Well, I will explain more inside again. The elves are also confused by this incident. They are investigating this incident, said Angeline. Angeline then took out a dark red light stone. I found this when I defeated all the devils, said Angeline. Everyone there was then shocked. They did not believe that the woman in front of them was the woman who saved the world of elves. Wow, you are quite impressive, said Izanagi. Of course, she is from the Aveline family, Odin said, admiring the angel's family. Angeline just sighed when all the gods were talking about her family. Her family was indeed a family that was very well known by the high race. So, what is this stone? Asked Zeus. This is an energy stone, said Angeline. All the gods there then were shocked to hear it. This stone holds a magic energy and I've investigated this magic energy, Angeline explained. So who is the owner of this energy? Asked Izanagi. Then Angeline sighed as if the answer would not please all the gods here. I don't know, said Angeline glumly. The gods then just stopped hearing the answer from Angeline. They then thought whether the owner of this magic energy came from one of the terrorist members. It's true, we understand, said Odin. Then Angeline was shocked to hear them. The gods here understood what was happening. The gods did not scold her for not providing information. Thank you for the information, Angeline, said Michael. Then Angeline just nodded understanding. Then I'll excuse myself first, said Angeline, who then left to leave the room. Angeline then out of the room felt that if the task was finished, she sighed regretfully for only giving a little information. She was also confused because the gods who now seemed to be more peaceful. I'm surprised, they are now more intimate, even though they used to always fight over power, thought Angeline confused. Are you finished? Suddenly someone asked Angeline. Angeline then looks sideways to see who is calling. Hello, I'm Aphrodite, said Aphrodite. Oh, my name is Angeline Aveline, greetings, said Angeline. The other two goddesses then introduced themselves. They then spoke to each other. When they were talking to each other, suddenly there was a goddess again approaching them. Oh Athena, what's wrong? Asked Aphrodite. I'm going to the human world, so tell my father that I'm going to the human world, Athena said. Then the two women were shocked to hear Athens going to the human world. Aphrodite then felt it would be interesting to go into the human world too. Oh, then I'll come along, said Aphrodite. Athena and the other three girls were shocked to hear Aphrodite going into the human world. Athena then sighed. It's not permissible, I'm not walking around but I'm doing my duty, said Athena, giving a reason. Never mind, I know that you are stressed now and want to vacation to the human world, said Aphrodite. Athena then felt annoyed with the goddess in front of her. She was very upset when Aphrodite was always involved in her affairs. It's up to you, said Athena, who then left. Aphrodite then smiled with victory. Amaterasu, Freya and Angeline only sweat dropped on their conversation. Aphrodite always seems stubborn. Then I'll go back first, said Freya. Oh, see you, Freya-san, said Amaterasu. Freya then walked away back to Asgard. Aphrodite then also said goodbye to Amaterasu and Angeline, then chased Athens. Wow, I didn't expect that gods and goddesses are now more familiar, said Angeline. Yes, that's why it's because of him, said Amaterasu. He? Angeline was confused. Yes, he, the person who changed all our old thoughts, said Amaterasu. Angeline then added to the words of Amaterasu. Amaterasu, let's go back. Suddenly someone shouted at Amaterasu. Amaterasu then looks towards Angeline. I must go now, Angeline-san, said Amaterasu, saying goodbye. Amaterasu then headed towards the exit to go home. Angeline just saw the goddess go away, just feeling still confused by the words of Amaterasu. I'm still curious about what she said earlier. Who is he really, asked Angeline for herself. Angeline is still curious, then decides to go back to heaven because the task here is complete. He'd better ask about this to her grandfather. In school. Scene now, there are some people who are on their way to the cafeteria for lunch. Looks like the child wearing a straw hat can't wait to go to the canteen. I can't wait anymore, said the child. Be patient, Luffy, we will arrive soon, Ria said calmly with a smile. Luffy was still impatient. Seen beside them, the other students were watching them with a look of admiration, delight and disgust. A look of admiration and pleasure towards Rias, Akino, Kiba, Asia and Kaneko, while disgust stares at Issei and Luffy. Why are they looking at me and Luffy with disgust? Issei asked. Maybe because they still don't like you, while for Luffy senpai it seems like they still have the bad news in this school, said Kaneko, trying to explain. Luffy seems to be still confused with the students here. Why are they still spreading strange rumors about him, even though he didn't do a problem? I don't care, they are free to do what they want, said Luffy, feeling unconcerned. But Luffy-kun, there is no way you will be insulted or ridiculed every day, said Akino. It doesn't matter, I just want what I want, Luffy said firmly. Akino then just sighed resignedly to see Luffy's stubborn attitude. They then arrived at the cafeteria. Luffy quickly took the food. He's very excited, said Kiba, looking at Luffy. Yes, that's how he is, said Rias. Luffy then took the food so much that all the students were shocked to see it. Luffy quickly returned to Rias and the others in a seat by the window. Congratulations on eating, Luffy shouted. Rias and the students there then saw Luffy eat so greedily, but Luffy didn't bother with the gazes of the other students. Luffy slowly said Rias. Oh sorry, said Luffy, feeling he had disturbed Rias and the others. Rias just smiles to hear Luffy apologize. Luffy continues to eat all the food, but there is nothing left. Phew, I'm full, Luffy said happily. Rias and the others were seen still eating their food. Luffy thinks that they are very slow. Luffy, suddenly a woman's voice called Luffy. Luffy then was surprised to hear that a woman's voice called him. Luffy then saw who had called him. Oh Ayano, Luffy shouted as he waved his hand towards Ayano. Ayano then walked towards Luffy and the occult research group. Rias, who saw Ayano, just smiled. What's up, Ayano? Luffy asked. I searched for you earlier, said Ayano. Looking for me, what's wrong? Luffy asked back. I just want to give this, said Ayano while giving something. Seen there was a bento in Ayano's hand with a large enough size. Rias and the others were shocked because Ayano made a bento for Luffy. Luffy seemed happy to see Ayano bring a bento to him. A bento, thank you Ayano, said Luffy thanking. Rias, who sees Ayano make a bento for Luffy, then feels left behind to get closer to Luffy, while Ayano looks happy when Luffy praises her. Luffy then opened the bento. There was rice with the words for Luffy. Thank you Ayano, said Luffy thanking her. Ayano was then happier because Luffy thanked her again. While Rias added that she felt left behind. Luffy then ate bento from Ayano. Delicious, said Luffy eating the Ayano bento. Ayano feels today is the best day for her to see Luffy eating her bento, even though every day she always makes dishes for Luffy. Luffy then finished eating the Ayano bento. Once again thank you Ayano, said Luffy. You're welcome, Luffy said Ayano. Ayano then sat near Rias without asking permission to make Rias angry. Oh sorry, Ayano said to Rias. Rias then felt annoyed with Ayano now, but it seemed Ayano did not care about the annoyed Rias. Ayano, can you find another seat? Rias said. Oh sorry Rias, but I can't, said Ayano. What do you mean you can't? Rias asked irritably. Because I can't, said Ayano again. Luffy, who saw them both, then tried to calm them down. Relax both of you, said Luffy. Ayano and Rias still look sharply at each other. Luffy then scratches his head, confused why they look angry. Rias's peerage then just laughed softly at their chairman. Skip time. We came home. Luffy, Rias, and Ayano then looked like they were home. Welcome, shouted the three fallen angels. The three fallen angels then hugged Luffy and Ayano. Luffy and Ayano just smiled at the three of them. We miss you a lot, Master Luffy, said Rainerer. Shishishi, me too, said Luffy with a small laugh. The three of them then changed their clothes. Now it's late afternoon. Luffy is seen preparing for dinner. Oh yes, Luffy, can you shop? Said Ayano, remembering how cool it was. Luffy was surprised to hear the words from Ayano, who suddenly told him to shop. I can do it, Ayano said, Rainerer, advising her. No, Rainerer, you've helped me quite a lot. Now it's Luffy's duty, said Ayano firmly. Luffy then sighed resignedly, however he had to help Ayano, who had helped him a lot. All right, said Luffy with a smile. I'll come with you, Master Luffy, said Kalauerner. No, just stay here with the others, Luffy said. Kalauerner then just nodded, understanding with her master's orders. She will obey whatever orders from Luffy because he is now the master. Then I go first, said Luffy, saying goodbye. Luffy then went to shop quite cheerfully. Riaz then looked at Ayano, who suddenly told her to shop. Are you sure you told him to shop this afternoon? Riaz asked. Yes, I'm sure that he will be fine, said Ayano. Riaz then understood with Ayano. Riaz then stroked Midelt's head, who seemed to have become familiar with the three fallen angels at Ayano's house. Luffy is now walking to the market and hopes that if it's still open. Luffy is not sure if the market is still open at the present time. Luffy then arrived at the market and then was happy because the market still seemed to open. The market is still open, good, said Luffy thankfully. Luffy then takes a piece of paper from his bag and then tries to read it. Luffy can now read because he has been taught by Ayano. Luffy is very happy to have friends like Ayano who always help him. Well, first of all is carrots. Luffy then looked around to see carrots and it turned out he found it. Luffy then headed to the carrots place of sale. After finishing buying carrots, Luffy then looks for tomatoes. Ayano seems to plan to make soup for tonight. Luffy looks happy thinking about soup tonight. Luffy then realized something. Oh yeah, will he come someday? Luffy asked, thinking of someone. Luffy then decides to continue shopping. Luffy then buys the next vegetable, but while looking for the vegetable, Luffy then sees two people he knows. Athena, Luna. Luffy shouted to see that there were two people who were walking in the market. The two women were then shocked to hear someone calling them, then turned to see who called them. Luffy, they both said. Athena was shocked because Aphrodite knew Luffy. Athena then looked at Aphrodite. Aphrodite then also looked towards Athena. They then both see each other. Do you know Luffy? Asked Athena. Yes, do you also know him? Asked Aphrodite. Luffy then approaches the two goddesses or without knowing who they really are. Yo, how are you two? Said Luffy. Aphrodite and Athena then look confused to say what. They are afraid that Luffy knows who they are. I'm fine, wait, you know her, Luffy? Athena asked, pointing to Aphrodite. Yes, we have only known a month ago, Luffy said. Aphrodite only smiles because they are now meeting again. Aphrodite then sees Luffy carrying several baskets in his hand. Are you shopping? Aphrodite asked. Yes, I was shopping for dinner, said Luffy. Isn't this too late to shop? Asked Athena. Ayano told me to shop because she seemed to forget to shop, said Luffy casually. Aphrodite and Athena only nodded to understand Luffy's words. Aphrodite then looked towards Athena. Athena understood the meaning of Aphrodite. Then we will help you, said Athena. Is it true? Thank you, Luffy said happily. Because we are friends, so friends must help each other, right? Said Aphrodite casually. Luffy then looks more happy. Luffy is happy because he has many friends now. Luffy missed the moment where his friends helped him. If so, can we see the shopping list? Said Aphrodite. Luffy then gave his shopping list to Aphrodite. Aphrodite then looked at the shopping list and nodded. Well, I'll take vegetables, said Aphrodite. I will take the rest, said Athena. The three of them then split up to find vegetables on Luffy's shopping list. They split up until 15 minutes later. They then gathered in the middle of the market. Have you found other vegetables? Athena said. Yes. Yup. Luffy and Aphrodite said. Luffy then took the vegetable and wrapped it up. Luffy has 3 very large plastic bags, 2 in his hands and 1 on his neck. Thank you, Luna, Athena, said Luffy, thanking them. Luffy, said Athena. So, are you going home? Aphrodite asked. Yes, Ayano must be worried now because it's almost night, said Luffy. Aphrodite and Athena then understood this girl named Ayano, including Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Aphrodite then understood that this girl named Ayano had feelings for Luffy, and Aphrodite realized that Luffy didn't know. "Where are you going?" Luffy then asked Athena and Aphrodite. Aphrodite and Athena were shocked by Luffy's question. Aphrodite only wanted to come with Athena for fun, but it seemed Athena was just walking around the city. "We don't know where we are going," said Athena. Aphrodite was shocked to hear Athena say bluntly. Luffy then smiled because he had an idea. "What if you join dinner with us?" Luffy suggested. Athena and Aphrodite were shocked by Luffy's words. Aphrodite looked happy while Athena seemed to still be thinking about Luffy's suggestion. "We didn't. We're coming." Suddenly Aphrodite cut off the words from Athena, then annoyed Athena with Aphrodite for cutting off her words. "Good, then come on," said Luffy with enthusiasm. Luffy then leads to Ayano's house. Aphrodite looks happy too because she won't feel bored, and Athena just sighs resignedly. Athena then looked at Aphrodite with an irritated look. "Why don't you reject it?" asked Athena. "Come on Athena, it's very boring if we just go around the city," said Aphrodite with a smile. Athena is only resigned to hearing the words of Aphrodite, and this is why she is always upset with the goddess of love. Luffy and the two goddesses then walked towards Ayano's house casually, occasionally seeing people around them walking too. "So Luffy, what are the characteristics of this woman named Ayano?" asked Aphrodite. "She is a good, diligent and very strong woman. She is the owner of the house where I live," said Luffy. "Is she beautiful?" Aphrodite asked. "Yes, I think," said Luffy in puzzlement. "I see." Aphrodite then became interested. "Are we almost there?" asked Athena. "A little more then we will arrive," said Luffy. The three of them continued to walk leisurely to Ayano's house. Athena and Aphrodite then saw a house at the end. The house looked simple with a few flowers in front of the house. "Is that the house?" asked Aphrodite. "Right, that's Ayano's house," said Luffy. The three of them then approached Ayano's house. Luffy then knocked on the door of Ayano's house quite loudly. Then the door opens by someone. Aphrodite and Athena then feel that there is a foreign energy possessed by the person who opens the door. "Fallen angels," they muttered. "Oh, Master Luffy, please enter," said Rainerer, letting Luffy enter. Rainerer then realized that there were two other people. "Who are they, Master Luffy?" Rainerer asked. "They are my friends. She is Luna," said Luffy pointing at Aphrodite. "Greetings," said Aphrodite. Rainerer then looked down at Aphrodite with great respect. Rainerer then looked towards Athena. "She is Athena," Luffy said. Rainerer then was surprised to hear the word Athena. Rainerer wondered if she was the goddess Athena, the goddess of wisdom from Olympus. Athena only holds her forehead to see Luffy suddenly introducing her name. "My name is Athena. You must think that I am a goddess from Olympus, right?" Athena said. "Yes, because your name is the same as the goddess's name," said Rainerer, still investigating Athena. "Everyone says that," Athena said with a little joke. "Both of them will have dinner with us," said Luffy. "Is it true? This must be very pleasant," said Rainerer. Rainerer then opened the door to allow Athena and Aphrodite to enter. "Please enter," said Rainerer. Luffy and the two goddesses then entered the house of Ayano. Athena and Aphrodite then saw the contents of the house. The two goddesses admired the house because it was very neat. Luffy then headed towards the kitchen to give this vegetable to Ayano. "Let me just deliver the vegetables, Master Luffy," said Rainerer. "Oh okay," said Luffy, who then gave the vegetables he brought to Rainerer. Rainerer then headed towards the kitchen while Luffy then took Athena and Aphrodite to the dining room. "I am very happy to have dinner with you," Luffy said Aphrodite happily. Athena then looked at Aphrodite with a suspicious look because she thought Aphrodite would tempt Luffy. Aphrodite and Athena were still confused with Luffy. Did he know that the woman who opened the door was a fallen angel? "Hey Aphrodite, do you realize that the woman who opened the door was a fallen angel?" asked Athena. "Yes, I know, but why is there a fallen angel in this house?" Aphrodite asked back. "Then what is the relationship with Luffy?" asked Athena. The two goddesses were then confused by what happened. They thought that Rainerer was disguised as a human in front of Luffy. The three of them then arrived in the dining room. "Hey everyone," shouted Luffy greeting them. "Master Luffy is home." Midelt then ran towards Luffy to hug him. Athena and Aphrodite then were shocked to see that there was energy that was not human energy in the room. The two goddesses felt that there was not only fallen energy but demonic as well. "What's going on?" thought Athena and Aphrodite. Luffy then stroked Midelt's head with a smile. Midelt was very happy when her head was stroked by Luffy. Rias and the fallen angels then stared at Athena and Aphrodite suspiciously, while Athena and Aphrodite then looked at Rias and the fallen angels with a suspicious look too. "Oh yeah, I'll introduce them as my friends," Luna and Athena said, Luffy introducing the two goddesses. Athena and Aphrodite then waved as introductions. Rias and the fallen were there still staring at Athena and Aphrodite suspiciously. Luffy then sat near Rias and Kalauerner. "Let's sit down," Luffy said, asking Athena and Aphrodite. Athena and Aphrodite then sat near Midelt and hoped that they would not know who they were. "Is dinner still long?" Luffy asked boredly. "Soon," said Rias. Rias then looks at Athena and Aphrodite with a probing look, Athena and Aphrodite just feeling nervous in the staring. "So when did you meet Luffy?" Rias asked Athena and Aphrodite. Aphrodite and Athena were then startled by Rias's question that seemed suspicious of them. "I met Luffy while in the city park," said Athena. "While I met Luffy at night in the middle of the city," said Aphrodite. Rias then grasped understanding casually, but Rias still looked at Athena and Aphrodite with suspicious eyes. "So you finally got friends?" Rias asked. "Yes, like that," said Athena and Aphrodite. Rias then kept looking at Athena and Aphrodite with a suspicious look. Luffy seemed just feeling bored waiting for his food. "Long time," said Luffy boredly. "The food is ready," suddenly heard Ayano's voice. Luffy then looked excited when he heard the word food. Athena and Aphrodite were shocked to see Luffy suddenly rose up with enthusiasm. Ayano then put all the food on the dining table. Ayano then saw Athena and Aphrodite. "So you guys are the guys Rainer talked about," said Ayano, seeing the two goddesses. Athena and Aphrodite just smiled back at Ayano's response. Ayano then just smiled. Rainer then put the rest of the meal on the table to eat. Luffy seemed impatient to see a lot of food on the table. "When do we eat?" shouted Luffy, who then intended to eat the food. "Wait a minute," Ayano then hit Luffy's head hard. Athena and Aphrodite were shocked to see this scene. "Wash your hands first," said Ayano. Luffy then headed to the place to clean the dishes to wash his hands. Luffy then returned to his seat. They then began to eat food on the table. Luffy quickly took the meat on the table very quickly. It was seen at dinner that it was very noisy because Luffy was trying to take other people's food on the table. Athena and Aphrodite stared at the eating scene tonight. They don't know that dinner will be as exciting as this. "Luffy, don't eat other people's food," said Ayano angrily, warning. "Master Luffy, don't take my meat," said Midelt, apparently fighting Luffy. Rias is then seen eating secretly without being noticed by Luffy so that her food is not taken. Rainer and Kalauerner were seen eating casually while laughing. Aphrodite and Athena really don't know what to say to this scene. The two goddesses then eat their food while keeping their food away from Luffy. After a long dinner, they finished their dinner. Luffy's appearance now big enough after eating a lot of food. Aphrodite and Athena seemed content to have dinner with them. "I'm stuffed," Luffy said happily. "Now I know why in the shopping list there are a lot of vegetables and meat to buy," Athena realized. That must be because Luffy thought Aphrodite. Yes, he always eats a lot of food," said Ayano. "Have you ever ran out of money?" asked Athena. "No, my mother always sends me a lot of money," said Ayano. "Your mother? Where is your mother now?" Athena asked. "Yes, she is currently on assignment abroad," said Ayano. Aphrodite and Athena then nodded understanding. They all then talked to each other. Suddenly there was a knock on Ayano's front door. "Who visits at this hour?" said Ayano, confused. Ayano then went to the door to open the door to see who came to his house. Luffy and the others then only saw Ayano from a distance. Ayano then opened the door to see who knocked. Ayano then was shocked to see who was coming. Rias, who saw Ayano, was shocked and made her curious. Rias then heads towards Ayano to see who is coming. Rias was then surprised to see who was coming. "Who is coming?" Ayano asked Rainer. Then the goddess and all the fallen angels felt there was a great energy in front of them, a very strong energy. Athena and Aphrodite then were preparing to release their energy just in case, so the angel fell there. Rias, who saw who had come, then could only say one word, "Brother," said Rias in surprise. Luffy then realized who had come and smiled happily. "Finally you came too, Uncle Red Hair," said Luffy happily. The man who was called just smiled at Ayano and Rias, who were shocked to see it. At another place. Seen now, there are several children playing. One of them is a little girl who seems to be playing hide and seek with another child. There is a woman watching over the children. Princess Lulu, be careful, you will fall, said the woman to the little girl who was running away. Just relax, Lily, I'm fine, said Lulu. Lily then just sighed resignedly to see the behavior of the daughter who always stubbornly reminded her of someone. Is she tired? Suddenly another woman's voice was behind Lily. Oh, Master Evelina. Lily then knew who she was. Evelina just smiled at Lily, surprised. Evelina then looked at her daughter who was playing with the other children. I did not understand stubbornly what Lulu had in common, to the extent that it reminded me of someone, Lily said. Evelina was shocked to hear that. Remember someone? Who? Asked Evelina. A human named Monkey D. Luffy, said Lily by clearly mentioning Luffy's name. Chapter 32. Is there a new member? Why is he here? Thought Athena, seeing that person. This is bad, thought Aphrodite. Rias doesn't believe that her brother is here, she wonders why her brother is here. Everyone there was shocked, not planning to see him. Sirzechs wears a red suit. Hello, Rias, said Sirzechs. Why are you here, brother? Rias asked. Oh, that's because Luffy called me, said Sirzechs. Luffy called you? Rias then looked at Luffy with a question mark. Luffy looks just smiling without feeling guilty. Why did you call him, Luffy? Rias asked Luffy. I have something important to talk about, Luffy said. Sirzechs just smiled at Luffy's words. Sirzechs then saw everyone in the house. Sirzechs can feel great energy from the two girls in front of him. This energy is the energy of a goddess. Seems like you're having fun, Sirzechs said towards all of them. Right, we finished dinner, really delicious, said Luffy. Sirzechs just laughed at Luffy. Sirzechs' reaction then looked at Ayano, who was still stunned. Can I enter? Said Sirzechs. Oh, of course, said Ayano after being aware of her shock. Thank you, Sirzechs, then enters the Ayano household. Sirzechs then looked around at the objects around him. Sirzechs then followed in amazement at the cleanliness of the house. Rias is confused on what to say to her brother who is now entering the house. Athena and Aphrodite look alert to Sirzechs, who seems to know who they are. They didn't believe that there would be one of the higher-ups, the devils, coming to this house. They think there is a relationship with Luffy. What should we do now? Aphrodite whispered to Athena. I don't know, don't make any suspicious movements, Athena said softly. Luffy then calls Sirzechs. Uncle Red Hair, come here, said Luffy, calling Sirzechs. Sirzechs then approached Luffy. Sirzechs wondered why he called him. What's the matter? Why did you call me, Luffy? Sirzechs asked. I want to ask something, said Luffy. Are you sure you will ask here? Sirzechs said. What's the matter? Luffy asked, not understanding. You will definitely ask something about your place of residence, said Sirzechs. Really, how do you know? Luffy asked. You're too demeaning to me, Luffy said, Sirzechs proudly. Rias, who looked at the two, was upset because she was ignored. Rias then angrily walked towards Sirzechs and Luffy, who were now laughing with each other. Is there anything you need to say? Rias shouted irritably because she had not been cared for. Oh, Rias, I'm sorry I called your brother suddenly. I called him because there was something I wanted to ask of him, said Luffy. What are you asking for? Rias asked. Luffy then wanted to tell Rias, but Sirzechs then blocked him. Rias was shocked because her brother prevented Luffy from answering. Sorry, Rias, this is a privacy talk, Sirzechs said. Rias was shocked to hear the words of her brother. Rias wanted to protest, but it seemed like she couldn't do it because she saw Sirzechs' serious face. We want to talk to each other, said Sirzechs. What if you talk in Luffy's room? Said Ayano, giving advice. Oh well, so Luffy, we can talk there, said Sirzechs. Luffy and Sirzechs then went upstairs to Luffy's room. Rias and the others were just curious about what happened. Rias is still curious why Luffy called her brother. Ayano only hoped that nothing would happen. Ayano then looked at Rainer and the others. It seems that Rainer, Kalorner and Midelt are seen hiding behind the refrigerator. Ayano and Rias then sweat dropped to see them hiding. Oi, why are you hiding? Ayano asked with a dazed face. It's okay, said Rainer with a fearful tone. Ayano and Rias only added sweat to see them. Athena and Aphrodite only saw Sirzechs with a sharp look. Athena and Aphrodite then decided something. We will head home, thank you for letting us have dinner with you, said Athena. Oh, you're welcome, said Ayano. Say my greetings to Luffy, said Aphrodite. Rias, Ayano and the fallen angels then get upset at the words of Aphrodite, who indirectly seems have a close relationship with Luffy. Never mind, we left first, said Athena. Athena and Aphrodite then left Ayano's house and continued their journey, while Rias just felt happy because they were gone. Good, she's gone, Rias said happily. I want to know what your brother is talking about to Luffy, said Ayano. I also want to know, Rias said. With Luffy and Sirzechs. Luffy and Sirzechs are now talking to each other. So you want to know if you can go back to your dimension, said Sirzechs. Right, I have to meet my other friends, said Luffy. I understand with you, but this will be difficult because I have to learn about dimensional shifts, said Sirzechs. Luffy then looked disappointed with the words from Sirzechs. He really wanted to meet his friends. Luffy then looks down to think about something else. Maybe you can meet the Red Great Dragon, he knows everything about dimensions, said Sirzechs. Luffy's eyes opened wide when Sirzechs said that there was still hope to return to his crew. Really, where is he? Luffy asked Sirzechs. He must be in the dimensional space, said Sirzechs. Then bring me there, said Luffy impatiently. Sirzechs then smiled seeing Luffy's burning spirit, Sirzechs then holding Luffy's shoulder. I can't, said Sirzechs. Luffy then felt that his spirit immediately went down after hearing Sirzechs' words again. He wondered if he could return to his crew. But I will help you to restore you to your dimension, said Sirzechs, convincing Luffy. Luffy then just smiled to see Sirzechs, who was very much in charge of him now. He didn't know what to do to repay Sirzechs' kindness. When Sirzechs held Luffy's shoulder, accidentally the door opened. Luffy and Sirzechs were shocked because the door suddenly opened. The two men were shocked to see that there was Rias, Ayano and the three fallen angels who were eavesdropping. All the women were shocked because the door suddenly opened. Rias and the others were shocked to see Sirzechs holding Luffy's shoulder. Rias and the others then gaped at this scene. Sirzechs, who was now confused, then realized what he had done. This is not as you see, said Sirzechs, who let go of Luffy's shoulder and tried to explain it to Rias and the others. Rias and the others are still stunned by this scene. Luffy just paused, not knowing what to do with this incident. He just saw Rias and the others like looking at something very horrible. I don't know that you have this kind of relationship, said Rias, trembling. Sirzechs now doesn't know what to say to his little sister. Her sister has seen himself with Luffy at an inappropriate time. It's impossible. Luffy isn't a man, said Rainerer, frightened by what she saw. Am I not sexy enough for you, Master Luffy? Kalauerner went along. Kalauerner looked sad. Rias and Ayano didn't know what to say. Rias then looked at her brother with a sharp look. Sirzechs, who was stared at by his sister, was then scared. Rias, I can explain, said Sirzechs, trying to explain. Luffy just stunned when he saw this scene. He felt that he hadn't done anything wrong. Brother, shouted Rias, who then attacked Sirzechs with her destructive power. Sirzechs then couldn't avoid the attack from his sister. Boom. They all then fell asleep. Rias and the others are sleeping in their place, the woman's bed, while Luffy and Sirzechs sleep in Luffy's room. Sirzechs down using a futon. Luffy, are you still awake? Asked Sirzechs from below. What's up, uncle? You know that I'm very sleepy, said Luffy. Oh sorry, I just want to say thank you for taking care of my sister, said Sirzechs. She doesn't matter, I'm happy to be friends with Rias, Luffy said. Sirzechs just smiled at Luffy. Sirzechs and Luffy's then fell asleep calmly. The morning. Luffy and the others then have breakfast now, but Sirzechs also had breakfast because Ayano suggested that he have breakfast with them. The dining table is now filled with some tasty food cooked by Ayano. Luffy seemed happy to see a lot of food in front of him. Luffy swiftly wanted to take the chicken thigh but hit by Ayano. Wash your hands first, Luffy, said Ayano. Luffy then quickly washed his hands. Ayano was shocked because Luffy could now understand quickly. Luffy then returns to his chair to eat. Let's eat, Luffy shouted. They all then ate their own food except Luffy, who was not necessarily sure what to eat first. Everyone there is careful that Luffy doesn't steal their food. Sirzechs then just smiles at their reaction to Luffy. Sirzechs then looked towards Rias to tell something, but when he saw Rias, Sirzechs was instead looked at by Rias with a sharp look. Are you still angry, Rias? Asked Sirzechs. Rias just felt sullen with what happened last night. Sirzechs felt he didn't know what to explain to Rias. Actually, I just want to say, are you going to keep locking the bishop? Asked Sirzechs. Riaz then was shocked to hear the words from her brother. Luffy then paused when Sirzechs said that there was something important. What was the meaning of his words earlier, Riaz? Luffy asked. Riaz then just sighs because Luffy will find out one of the peerages again. You will find out later in school, Riaz said. Luffy then just nodded understanding. Luffy then continued to eat again very quickly. Sirzechs then felt happy when he could have breakfast with all of them. Sirzechs then looked towards the 3 fallen angels who seemed to have trembled. You don't need to be afraid, said Sirzechs to the 3 fallen angels. The 3 fallen angels then looked at Sirzechs with fear. Luffy was surprised by Rainer's attitude and the others. What's with you? Luffy asked. It's okay, said Rainer. Sirzechs has heard about these 3 fallen angels told by Riaz. Of course they are trembling. Riaz's brother is one of the Maou, said Ayano. Riaz had told Ayano who her brother was. Ayano was immediately shocked after hearing it. So this uncle is strong? Luffy asked innocently. Of course, shouted all the people there except Sirzechs, who smiled. They all then ate their food casually. The 3 fallen angels now seemed to be getting better when eating with Sirzechs. After breakfast, Sirzechs then decided to leave because the task here was finished. Then I go first, thank you for the breakfast, said Sirzechs, who then said goodbye. Sirzechs then smiled at his sister, who seemed to be still pouting about the misunderstanding last night. Sirzechs then left Luffy and the others now in front of the house to see Sirzechs leaving. Your brother is a good person, said Ayano to Riaz. Of course, he is my brother, said Riaz proudly. Ayano just smiled at Riaz's pride. Then Ayano decided to tell Luffy that they should go to school now. Luffy, we should go to school, said Ayano. But Ayano, I'm still tired, said Luffy with full reason. Luffy doesn't have many reasons, we have to go to school, Ayano said firmly. Luffy then sighed resignedly to see Ayano continue to force him. Riaz now sees Ayano with a look of amazement because she can control Luffy, a person who is very difficult to control. Oh yes, is Luffy's first crewmate with the sword also hard to control? Riaz asked. In another place. Achu sneezes someone with green hair. What's wrong, Zoro? Are you sick? Sona asked beside him. No, I just sneezed, said Zoro. Are you sure? Tsubaki asked. I'm sure. Why are you bothering me? Said Zoro irritably. Sona and Tsubaki then just sighed resignedly to see Zoro's insensitivity with Luffy. Luffy and Zoro are people who don't understand a girl's love, but now they are surrounded by beautiful women. Poor Sanji. Back to Ayano household. I thought he was like that too, said Riaz. Riaz then returned to Ayano's house to get ready to go to school. There was a small commotion inside the house because Luffy seemed like it was very difficult to take a shower because there was food on the table. School. Riaz and Luffy are now heading to the club association for occult research. They then arrive at their club building. Riaz then opens the club door. It was seen that all Riaz members were shocked because their leader came. They then welcomed their chairman, seen Luffy walking behind Riaz. Hey, everyone, said Luffy enthusiastically. Hey Luffy-kun, said Akino. Are the bad rumors about you gone? Kiba asked. Oh, thank you all, said Luffy, thanking him. It's not a problem, Issei said proudly. Glad to help you, Luffy, said Asia. You're welcome, Kaneko said softly while eating the snacks. Luffy then sat near Kaneko. Akino then made tea for Luffy. Luffy then thanked Akino for making tea. Everyone, Riaz then tried to ask the attention of the peerage. We will open the room, Riaz said casually. All of Riaz's peerage except Issei and Asia was startled. Luffy, who saw them, shocked and wondered what really happened. Is Butcho sure? How will we get him out? Kiba asked. Luffy, Issei and Asia were confused by Kiba's words. Riaz then only smiled at Kiba. Yes, now it's time for him to come out, said Riaz. Luffy then became more curious about the words from Riaz and the others, whether they were imprisoning someone or something he had never seen. Riaz, Luffy and Peerage were then walking in one of the hallways of the occult research building. Luffy is curious where they will go. They then arrived at a door that was wide enough. Luffy also saw that there was a chain on the door that seemed to seal the door. What door is that? Luffy asked. You will know, Luffy, said Riaz, who then opened the door. And suddenly the chain around the door then disappeared. The door then opened by itself. Feeling Luffy's curiosity, then went inside. Luffy then found that in the room it was very dark with little enlightenment. What is this place? Asked Luffy curiously. Luffy, we have another member, Rias said. Issei, Luffy, and Asia were shocked by the mockings of Rias. Then Luffy looked very eager to meet the other member, but Luffy didn't find anyone in the room. Get out, Rias said to someone. No, I don't want to go out, shouted someone. Luffy then confused to hear the voice sounded like a little girl's voice. Luffy then saw that there was a large enough box behind it. What's in the box? The box is like a chest, Luffy said. Feeling curious, Luffy then approached the chest and opened it to see what was inside. No, Butto, I don't want to go out. Seeing there was someone in the chest, that person was like a fear, like someone would attack him. Luffy then saw that person and then thought that the person was a girl. The person wears Kao's female school clothes, looks like a girl with pink eyes. Fun, new members are a sweet girl again, Issei shouted happily. Luffy then looks at the person, then the person realizes that he is stared at by Luffy. The person then looks scared at Luffy's face. He is not a she, Issei said Rias. What do you mean, Butto? Issei asked in surprise. He is a man, said Akino. After a few seconds, Issei and Asia were shocked to hear from Akino saying that the person was a man, but they still did not believe that the person was a man. He is Gasper Vladi, he is my bishop, said Rias. Impossible, shouted Issei in disbelief. Gasper, who heard Issei's shout, then felt scared. Gasper then entered again in the chest and closed it. Please go, said Gasper with fear. Luffy, who saw Gasper, then just smiled. Luffy then opened the chest again to see Gasper again. Gasper then was shocked because the crates were opened suddenly. Please don't hurt me, said Gasper, frightened. What are you doing? Luffy asked with a confused face. I'm afraid of the outside world. The outside world is so scary, said Gasper with fear. Luffy saw Gasper while confused about what to do with Gasper. Luffy then held Gasper's arm to pull him out. Kaya, don't do that, shouted Gasper. Get out, Luffy shouted while tugging at Gasper. The others who saw this only looked at their behavior. Rias looked at them with a sigh of resignation. The peerage then just chuckled at Luffy's behavior. Come on, come out, Luffy shouted, still pulling Gasper. I don't want to, said Gasper and kept holding his chest so that it could not be separated. Luffy, he's like that, said Rias. Luffy then released Gasper, so Gasper then fell down. Gasper then felt pain from falling. Gasper once again then entered the chest again and closed it. Luffy, who saw it, just felt confused. Why can he be like that? Luffy asked. Because he is mixed blood, said Rias with a neutral face. Luffy was confused, but then he understood the meaning of mixed blood, because he had seen a lot of mixed blood in the world of One Piece. Who is he mixed blood with? Luffy asked. He's half the vampire, said Rias. Luffy then, who heard the vampire and then was shocked and then smiled with enthusiasm. He was very eager to meet the vampire to see that the vampire could turn into a bat. Really? Luffy shouted excitedly. Right, said Rias, smiling, understanding with Luffy's nature now. Then why doesn't he want to leave the chest? Luffy asked while pointing at the chest used by Gasper. As I said, because he's mixed blood, said Rias. Luffy still doesn't understand the words of Rias. What do you mean, Rias? Luffy asked, still not understanding. In his family, his mother is a human while his father is a vampire. I have no issues, but people feel that mixed blood is something that is disgusting. There are many bad opinions about it, Rias said. Luffy then was shocked to hear Rias's words. He then remembered that there were so many conflicts about the difference in race in his world. He didn't know that in this dimension it was also like that. They all insulted, ridiculed, even pelted Gasper with stones, said Rias, explaining. Plus he is called a cursed child, said Rias. Cursed child? Luffy was confused. When his mother gave birth to him, his mother died shortly thereafter. He also cursed some of the servants in his castle to death, said Rias. Luffy then realized that Gasper's past was so sad. Luffy had heard many tragic stories like that. All his crew and many friends have had a dark time. Issei and Asia also feel like Luffy. Luffy then opened the chest loudly so that it looked like Gasper was shocked because his chest was suddenly opened by Luffy. Get out, there is no point in staying here, Luffy shouted while pulling Gasper again. Gasper, who was able to stare at the box, then pulled out. Rias and the peerage were shocked by Luffy, who suddenly. No, let me go. This world is so creepy, Gasper said fearfully. Luffy then remembers Usopp and Chopper who behave the same as Gasper. Luffy then doesn't release Gasper just like that. Luffy, isn't it too rude to do that, said Rias. No, this person has to get out of that stupid chest and then live his life full of adventure, Luffy shouted loudly. Rias and the others were shocked when Luffy shouted like that. They never saw Luffy screaming like that. Listen, you have to see the outside world, not all of them are bad people, said Luffy telling Gasper. But Gasper still doesn't believe the words of Luffy. No, I don't believe it, surely they will hurt me again, said Gasper with fear. If there is anyone who hates you, you still have your freedom, Luffy shouted loudly. All the people in the room were shocked because Luffy suddenly shouted very loudly, especially Gasper who heard the words of Luffy, who immediately said that he would protect them. What do you mean? Asked Gasper, who was now calm. Luffy then lowered Gasper slowly. Gasper then turned to face Luffy, who was now smiling. You don't need to be afraid to see the outside world, it's up to them to hate you, saying that you are a curse or whatever. But they can't take your freedom to see and surround this outside world, Luffy said firmly. Rias and the peerage then feel amazed by Luffy's words. Now they understand Luffy. Luffy is a person who doesn't care that he is ridiculed, insulted, beaten, or his dreams are laughed at. He will continue to enjoy freedom and pursue his dreams. Gasper is amazed to see Luffy. He has never seen someone like Luffy full of enthusiasm. Luffy then looks very excited. Then, let's go out, said Luffy while pulling Gasper. Don't want to, Gasper then refused. But Luffy kept pulling Gasper. Luffy managed to pull Gasper and then headed towards the exit, but Gasper still tried to fight Luffy's pull. I don't want to come out, shouted Gasper. Trust me, I won't let anyone hurt you, Luffy said. Rias and the peerage are just Sirzechs again seeing this funny moment. Issei still feels curious about Gasper's power. Butcho, so what's his power? Issei asked. Gasper is Daywalker, he can walk in the sun, he has a sacred gear Forbidden Bailer View, he can stop time, Rias said. What? Stop time? Luffy looked excited when he heard that Gasper could stop time. But he can't control it, said Rias. Issei, Asia and Luffy were shocked because Gasper couldn't control the sacred gear. Luffy thought that if he trained Gasper, then maybe he could control his sacred gear. Then I'll train it, said Luffy innocently. Rias and the others were surprised to hear Luffy's words as they pleased. Gasper then is shocked to hear Luffy's words saying he will train him. No, I don't want to practice, shouted Gasper, refusing. No, you have to practice if you want to be a strong person, said Luffy. Luffy then pulls Gasper again to the exit to train him. Luffy is very eager to see Gasper control his sacred gear. Is this okay, Butcho? Asked Akino. I'm sure that this is okay, Luffy might be able to help, said Rias. I understand, said Akino. Luffy then pulls Gasper. It turns out that Gasper has very strong power, so Luffy must try to pull him. Luffy then stops pulling Gasper but doesn't release Gasper to return to the chest. Why don't you want to come out? I told you that I will protect you, said Luffy. I feel insecure about seeing the outside world, said Gasper. Luffy then thought for a while about the words from Gasper. Suddenly someone quickly headed to Gasper and then closed Gasper's head with a bag. Kaya, what is this? Apostrophe. Gasper then looks agitated when there is a bag covering his head. Gasper can still see because there are two holes that fit his eyes. Gasper then calms down and then he feels better. Luffy, who sees it, just stunned. Are you now starting to improve? Asked Zenovia, who turned out to be Gasper's head closure. I feel better, said Gasper, who felt better. Can you go out now? Zenovia asked. Oh, maybe I can, said Gasper. Luffy then looks at Zenovia, who made this plan. Thank you, Zenovia, Luffy said. It doesn't matter, said Zenovia. Well, time for practice, said Luffy, who then pulled Gasper. Gasper then was shocked because Luffy suddenly pulled. Luffy excitedly pulled Gasper and then took him to the volleyball court to play. Rias only sees this, just feels that this will be fine. I hope that with Luffy, Gasper's thoughts can change, said Rias. I also hope so, said Akino. On volleyball field. It seems now that Luffy and Gasper are on the volleyball court to practice immediately, but Luffy is still confused on how to train Gasper. Hey, called Luffy. Yes, what's up? Gasper asked in fear. How do you train your sacred gear, so it can be controlled? Luffy asked. I don't know either, so I have never been able to control my sacred gear, said Gasper. Luffy then closed his eyes while thinking. He thought whether he should train Gasper physically or train his sacred gear. Luffy then found an idea. Then I'll train physically and your sacred gear, said Luffy. Gasper is shocked because Luffy will train him. Gasper is a little worried about Luffy's training. Oh yeah, I heard that your mother is human, right? Luffy asked. Right, my mother is a human, said Gasper. Then I can train you, said Luffy. Train what? Gasper was confused. Right, maybe I can train and teach you about hockey, Luffy said. Gasper was then confused by Luffy's words. Hockey, thought Gasper, confused. Continued. End of chapter 32.